Today was one of those days where I think it was just probably the time when everyone was getting off of work and trying to take the bus, but there were many people who were saying that since the past month, since they did all the changes, they actually haven't really been sticking to their schedules more now than they ever were before. And some people were saying that that might be because now there's such a long wait between certain buses that they're not really kind of taking it seriously. There are a lot of people who are saying that their buses are running late more now than they ever were before, since April 8th even. There was one individual who, this I found particularly interesting. She was telling me how in the morning, she lives in Westbury, in the mornings to get to work it takes her 40 minutes with 3 transfers. In the evening, coming back from work, it takes her 2 hours with the same transfers.
Where is she ending up?
I'm sorry?
Where is she ending up?
I wish Bethpage. Westbury to Bethpage.
Oh.
So coming...
Dad?
Anything going north and south is bad at this point. The reason why they're late is they don't get enough time.
Mm-hmm.
The schedules they had before NICE took over were antiquated. Now they screwed it up even worse. And the man that's doing the scheduling is an arrogant SOB. I've told him a couple of times. And I asked him if he ever drove a bus. He said he doesn't need to drive a bus to know how to schedule. And I looked at him and I said, oh, yes, you do. And he said to me, do you know what he did before he scheduling buses? He worked on Wall Street. So you tell me, how does he know this should be done through the ranks? There is a man up there that was with us, with the NTA, and they won't let him touch anything.
Second one, when they had the meeting at the hotel, they also failed to tell us that January 1, and that whole big meeting about whether we were going to change from 10 to phone. They failed to tell us that April 6th there was going to be more changes. Yes, they did officially notify us, what, 1 week before? And no place to meet.
They don't want to.
There was another situation where, with the N16, we've also been getting many people complaining about the N16. The 435 didn't show up. The next one scheduled to come was at 5:05. The 5:05 came, or at least maybe, or I'm thinking maybe, I think the 435 came at 5:05. And then the 5:05 came immediately after it, and it docked with only 3 people on the bus.
Yes.
So I'm imagining that happens often.
That's what's happening with the 6th. They were getting jammed in Jamaica, and they weren't picking up the heaviest subway. They were picking up the other subway, and we were all hysterical because, well, I'm a local. On Monday and Tuesday I do the 6th. I'm a local. I had them to the window, which is illegal. Okay, that white line is there because that's the crumple zone. If you get hit, anybody that's standing in front of that white line, we will discuss the driver. The dark driver is automatically dead. But anything that pushes back is going to be dead. That's why you cannot happen above that line.
That or exchange sharp, you're going to go right straight through the window. That has happened.
Not to mention that the express, and we were laughing. If they had 10 people, one person, they were going into from Jamaica into Hempstead, empty.
Well, at Hempstead, there's I don't know who they are. I imagine they're a NICE representative, but they are at Hempstead doing something by the N6.
So-called dispatches.
I guess taking numbers on how many people are getting on and.
Yeah, they're doing surveys because.
But how long are you going to do surveys before you fix the situation? He's been there for weeks.
One of the dispatchers tried, and I'll tell you exactly what he was told and what we were told. He tried to change it. He was having them stop at all the limited was doing. Because we were leaving 40 and 50 people at a bus stop because we were jammed before we left Jamaica. So there was 40 and 50 people. I mean, people were standing in the street screaming. What he did was he told them to pick up on the main routes, like Meacham and New Hyde Road, stuff like that. And they called him and told him, put it back the way it was. The public is just gonna have to deal. How do you tell all these people that have to go to work, and you're leaving 50, 60 people at a bus stop, and you feel bad, but you just can't put any more in. I'll load through the back.
Mm-hmm.
You pay in the front and go in the back, and I'll load back there until I can't load anymore. But this is a dangerous situation for the public. It's a dangerous situation because people are getting agitated and they're jumping in front of buses. It's not the driver's fault.
Yeah.
You know what I smell? Revolt. With a capital R.
But don't. Number one, you can get in trouble. Don't take it out and drag it.
We're trying to make it accessible, like something that people can relate to.
Oh, by the way, before you continue on, just a small, not even consequential thing. Does anyone know who Sonic Reader or Sonic, whatever,
Still
is?
don't know. Oh, on the blog. No. We don't. Okay, so, I can hold it. Yeah. Okay, so, can everyone see? Okay. So, this first slide is for how the ridership has been continually going up as the years have gone on. Up until 2012, we don't have the most recent figures, but we do know that ridership continues to go up. And this is the number of rides per year. So it's not like how many riders, obviously, because of the high numbers. But then we can see over, again, this is the past 20 years, we can see that the public, the Nassau County's public funds that they're putting into the bus system continually goes down. This was still when it was operated by the MTA, and it was going from, in 1999, 33.5 million. Now it's all the way down to 2.5 million for the private system. So we're really trying to show here just how big of a gap that is, and how Nassau County no longer is putting funds into the system and is no longer prioritizing bus riders, even though the ridership is continually increasing.
And how they're not putting it, they have to run out of money.
Yep, exactly. And how, we believe that bus riders need to be prioritized, and it doesn't matter if there's an economic crisis, we still have to prioritize bus riders, because if we don't, then those same bus riders are going to end up going to other social services and put a further drain on the economy instead of contributing to the economy with good jobs and good public transportation. So, this obviously does not make sense.
Speaking as a former Stop and Shop person, supposedly leaving the job, upper management, our rules were if an employee kept being late, they were fired. Walmart, my wife used to work for, we were continuously late, we were fired. Now we're talking about minimum wages.
Right. That's, I think it's like one of the top reasons why low-wage workers are fired is because they're late. And, we don't have
We don't have those specifics. No.
Yeah, we don't have the specifics, but we do know that because the wait time is increased so drastically, a lot of people are late. And they're consistently late, and that's really hard because when you have a job, especially when you're making low wages, if I come 15 minutes late to work or 20 minutes late to work, it's usually okay, because I can say, okay, sorry, I'm late this one time, and I know that because I have reliable transportation, I won't be late next time. Whereas, we can't say the same about the buses. But we're going to go now and talk a little bit about how bus riders have always been at the forefront of social movements. And the reason we want to do this part with riders is to really show them, especially at Hempstead, which I think is so symbolic because it's the Rosa Parks Transit Center.
Absolutely.
I thought it was scary, I remember that.
Yeah.
So do I.
I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah, so the reason we want to do this and kind of really get a history of all these different movements is because, the struggles of bus riders are part of everyday life. And it's been that way for years and years and years. Ever since there's been public transportation, that has always been a significant part of our political life. So the first example that we give is the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, and really kind of give background on it. So this was a boycott that lasted over a year. So it really shows the commitment of many of the bus riders and kind of point to the way in which this particular instance in history was so that riders could completely eliminate segregation. and fight until they were able to sit anywhere that they wanted to on the buses. Yeah, so that's the first movement that we point to. The next is the disability rights movement, and the way that disabled populations have been fighting for their rights to public transit since the 1970s.
Wow. So this was fairly recent. I was born in '78.
Yeah, the disability rights bus struggle is very recent, and it's something that continues to happen today. It's actually interesting. We were speaking to someone yesterday who was saying that many of the nice buses don't have operating lifts.
I'm telling you, they're not repairing.
Yeah.
From the inside, I can't,
Yeah.
You can quote me on it, but don't put my name on it, because Roger knows me by name. But they're not repairing anything. Anything.
And then they fired all the mechanics, right?
No. Well,
pretty much most.
pretty much.
They didn't, a lot of them left, went to the MTA. A lot of them are leaving in the process, so you don't have very many mechanics. It's like a ghost yard.
I'll give you another example of all, because I deal with, we go out and we work with blind vets. And many of the machines where they designate where each stop is, they also don't work. They made a big stink that the MTA didn't repair. All they did was Band-Aid.
What, the registers?
The audible
No, the
announcements.
buses itself,
Oh, okay.
supposedly. But don't even want to get into that. All they did was switch buses temporarily and then took the good buses back.
Yeah. So in this particular movement in 1984, there were, I believe, over a dozen disabled riders who used wheelchairs who pretty much chained themselves together and blocked off a Chicago city street in protest of the Chicago Transit Authority purchasing over 300 new buses, none of them with lifts. This has been a struggle going on forever. There are still many disabled groups who are fighting public transportation authorities on this particular issue to ensure that their lifts are working and that all buses are accessible. Then we kind of bring about the two current bus rider unions that exist, one of them being Long Island, but the other being in Los Angeles. And the Bus Riders Union in Los Angeles is the world's largest grassroots advocacy group for public transportation. They formed in 1992, and they actually have won, I think, a really large civil rights case. They sued the LA Transportation Authority, the LAMTA, for violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, where their monies were obviously not funding the bus system in a very racist manner, because over 80% of their ridership were people of color. I believe over 60% were women, and I believe 90% were people who were poor. I'm sorry?
Latino poor.
Yes. Yeah. So they sued, and they won their case, where the LAMTA signed a 10-year contract that pretty much mandated that they fund funding the transportation authority was their primary responsibility. And this is a group that still exists in LA. They're still fighting strong. Some of their other victories were that they won a no fare increase for 9 years. They were able to instill more bus hours into their routes, and they also were able to get an increase in ridership. And then we point to the Long Island Bus Riders Union, formed in January 2012, and
I met you.
working our way up. Yeah, that was the first day that I ever flyered. That's when we met.
I lost the flyers, but I printed out a copy from your site.
Yeah. So, and then when describing our union, we point out the demands that we have right now. Our top demand being no fare increase in 2013.
Put it this way, Suffolk County, who basically is run by townships, things like that.
We tried to get, Pat tried to get really tried to.
They've worked, actually, they're right, this is the first time in 14 years they actually increased their,
We did ask the owner to get Southern Bus to take us over.
and also they actually have been working with, we have several buses that come to the VA, and all disabled veterans still pay. Yes.
He
And
said he's
yet-
gonna do it on that subsidy.
And actually, they get more money as a township than they do as a county.
Well, Suffolk County, the county itself puts in, what, like 34 million into
Yep.
the system? And you know what's funny? We have the same budget deficit. We should actually do a slide on this. That we have the same budget deficit in Suffolk County. There's a huge budget deficit, but there's still 34 million being put into the system. And yet in Nassau County, we only have 2.5 million being put into the system. And we have the same budget deficit. We're in the same economy.
Do you know who's on the watchdog board? Watchdog board?
The Transit Advisory Board.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the guy from the taxi company.
You know who he is?
I don't know.
He was D'Amato's vice president.
Yep.
Really?
He stopped being his president in December of 2010,
Yep.
and he became the head of tax.
I wonder what they're paying them for this because we know they're paid.
I didn't know that, but don't you think he's a conflict of interest?
Oh,
If
yeah.
he's with
Oh.
D'Amato and D'Amato's with Mangano?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everybody forgot, and this is public record. Alphonse D'Amato, who is the treasurer of the party, supported Mangano and gave him extra money.
Well, the Veolia gave him $100,000.
Yeah.
And McBride is the one that got him, gave the, what do you call that, fundraiser dinner.
Oh, I don't know.
So it's really dirty.
I think, then I suggest, wouldn't this be a good case for an ethics review? Conflict of interest?
That's what I would think, but
So would I. I myself am still trying to find out where the so-called money came from. I have been told through the grapevine, and I can't get anybody in the townships to admit it, but actually part of the money's been borrowed from the county. In other words, the money that was to be used to buy the bus system was actually borrowed from the county. I
Okay.
cannot get this done yet, but a year ago, came across a couple of articles about Alphonse D'Amato doing a few things, and I was wondering what it was all about. Now I found out. So Alphonse D'Amato has...
So this was a done deal before we found out about it.
Right.
This was well done a year before we found out.
And we should
about it.
also find out, I'm still trying to find out, that's one thing they won't let go also is who has stock in it. And from what I've understood, D'Amato also has that. Don't forget, this man has gotten away with retired as a senator of the United States because if they didn't, they would have investigated him about the Swiss banks. That was the...
Swiss banks doing what?
he was on the panel forcing the Swiss banks to pay Holocaust survivors. But he was getting a commission from the Swiss banks to work it out. He left that, and then some years later on, when he was working for the county board, he, what was it? What do we call the one with the housing? It's low budget housing?
In Island Park, where he got all his family.
Yes, he's starting with his secretary. It's a low income housing, and first person to move in it is his own secretary.
All right. Do you want to just keep going?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please do.
Yeah, so those are the four key movements that we'll be highlighting. And then after that, just have kind of a brief engaging discussion of why is it important to have a bus riders union and why is it important in the current state of Nassau County's bus system to have a bus riders union. And get people to say things like, well, bus riders are the ones who know what they need, and therefore bus riders should be listened to. Those should be the first people that any bus company goes to in order to know what changes need to be made and what changes shouldn't be made. But also bus rider empowerment, so that bus riders feel as though that they can get their voices heard and that their voices are very important. But also to have a body of people who are ensuring that the companies are accountable to what they're doing and that they're accountable to the riders, and to ensure accessible, reliable, and affordable public transportation. It's really only the big movement of riders and the riders coming together that will get something like that done.
Prime example is you look at the Long Island Railroad.
That's right. Well, actually, very interesting. The Long Island Railroad, I really wanted to compare the Long Island Railroad bus rider, the Long Island Railroad riders with the Long Island bus riders, because the Regional Economic Development Councils, this is kind of policy wonky stuff, but the Regional Economic Development Councils are distributing money. And one of the groups that is trying to get money from the development councils is the Long Island Railroad, the MTA. And they're making an argument that this is about economic development and using the railroad is a good investment in terms of development. And they also utilize the argument that the average person who rides the railroad makes $115,000 a year. That's the average salary of somebody who rides the railroad. And then you look at the bus rider's average salary, and it's far below $35,000
Right.
For a family of
28,000.
Yeah, it's about
28,000.
28,000.
28,500.
So if you compare those two stats and you look at what already is being subsidized during the MTA's reign, and I'm sure it's only worse now, when the subsidies were heavy, they were subsidizing bus riders. Every ride a bus rider took was being subsidized by the county at the rate of 67 cents, versus every ride that a rail.
18 cents now?
Well, I don't know. I have to look at the current statistics, but these are straight from 2010. And at the same case, a person who rode the railroad was being subsidized at $1.90. And the bus riders make so much less than the railroad riders, but I think it's because the people who ride the railroad, of course, they see them as the middle-class voters they're trying to appeal to, so they try to appeal to the middle-class voters instead of appealing to the bus riders. So it's a huge conflict of interest. This is everywhere in the country. I mean, we're using the example of Nassau County, but everywhere in the country, railroad riders are heavily subsidized, whereas bus riders aren't. And so that's also something that, like, I feel like is a really good point, and people don't realize that, you know, they're throwing away money, and they always say, we're not gonna, you look at the comments on say, we're not gonna support bus riders, we're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna throw our tax dollars down the drain supporting bus riders, but nobody has a problem doing that for people who ride the railroad.
Well,
But the people that ride the buses make the cog go. You know, you've got these people up here, but they depend on the people down there to clean their buildings, to watch their children, do all this stuff.
Without that,
them.
there would be no supermarkets, no Walmarts, no nothing. You would close down the malls. Thing is, and I'm going to bring you up on a sore point, you're going to have to go multi-language also.
Right.
Because depending on what community you go to, you'll find Freeport, Glencoe, well, I can't say Brentwood, but there are certain communities that are 50% or more non-English.
Yeah, no,
I know we had to start small, but after a while,
Well,
this
you
is
can
one
see
of
how
the
they
things we
feel
like.
about it. They didn't even let the Latino community know what was going on. They only did it in English.
Yes, you're right. I had to explain it to several people. They didn't even have a person there at the meeting over in what, Hilton?
Yeah.
Pick a good place, right? Spend all that money, right? And not one person was able there was only one other person there that spoke Spanish.
Right. Richard, were you going to say something?
I got very curiosity. The N22 came out with two new versions of themselves, the L and the X. When I look at the schedules, it just, the only N22Ls are only in the morning, and only the last one's at 7:10, at least at 7:10.
In the morning.
Yeah, there were no X's in the morning, but the party in Hicksville. They're only in the afternoon and evening, am I right?
Yeah, they're only during rush hour.
Did you say that that's illegal?
No, that's my leader.
Oh,
the
that's your
7:10.
leader.
No, they see what they did with the 22. They have the 22, the 22A, the Express 22, and the Limited 22. But that's fine. That covers all your bases. Now, if they did on the 6, the same thing. If they had the local, and they have the Limited, which picks up in between only the main sections, then you have the Express where people don't need to get off. They just want to go from A to B. They don't want to go through the alphabet. Now they got this 169, 179. They're making them stop at Meacham. and you have Westminster they stop at, and Hempstead Terminal. But before that, they were going from 179th Street to Westminster and Hempstead. And they were leaving like 50, 60 people. And the locals couldn't accommodate. But if you're gonna do that, the express is good if you do it right. If you put the limited in there to pick up some of the slack, then that's perfect.
Right. Okay, so that's the presentation that we want to give. Do people think that it's good, that the bus riders will, like, you know, find it valuable and motivating to join the union?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Agree. I have.
Good.
As I said, I guess the next meeting will probably be a month or so.
They need
If you
somebody
make some kind of a
to-
circular up, I'll make sure that they
Like I said, I don't know where to send them. I know they're very unhappy.
Right. Well, no, please send them our way. Like, if people are unhappy, I can even give you just, flyers or whatever to just give to them and say, Bus Riders Union is organizing, if you're unhappy, if you want to get involved. Because not only do we want to collect testimonies, but we also want to prevent further fare increases and just get people organized. The final...
Never mind fare increases, cuts.
Yeah, and fare, and cuts as well.
They don't need to cut. What they need is to
Yeah.
put more.
Organized.
They needed to put more before they started cutting.
So the second thing I just wanted, or the final thing I wanted to do is to,
I don't have it with me.
Oh,
to
six
pick
months.
a date when to do the ride a bus for a day to the legislators. The next legislative session is June 19th. So that's when we were thinking of actually, calling on that action.
I would watch out right around that time. You're talking about, I'm going on vacation, number one. And number two, you're getting very close to what they call Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a politics day. And they're going to go for photo ops. I hate to really say it, but if you can get a hold of, like, Channel 12 News.
Nuh-uh.
Oh, no,
Channel
not
12 is
Channel
for
12.
them.
What, Verizon?
I don't know, but I know they put in the paper that people are ecstatic. They think it's all great. Who did they pay off to put that in there? I see that the ridership is not as...
I know they're not happy.
But the ridership seems to have dropped a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens historically when you change your service drastically or when you make it less convenient, the ridership will drop. I think that they won't see as big of a drop just because the economy is so bad, but that is what happens.
Yes.
So the reason why I took June 19th is because that is the last session before the legislators go on recess for the summer. So if we wanted to do it, I think that we could get some media for it. We just have to talk about it a little bit more and hash out what we want to do. But the general call is, and we've done this in the past, is we want you to ride the bus for a day and to come back and to tell us what you think of the service. But what we want to do beforehand is because once Nice Bus gets the word of that, they're going to make sure the service is like spot on. We want to do before that is we want to already gather the testimonies of how difficult it is to take a bus from the various legislative districts, so that regardless of what they say, we can say, okay, well, we have 15 testimonies from that district of trying to get to Mineola, and all of these people say that it's impossible. And so just to really get that level of intricacy there.
My suggestion, I'll give you a prime example of that, would be Glencoe. How difficult it is now to go there. So pick a couple, maybe each one of us turn around and take a couple of senators. If they don't want to take all of the buses in one day, we'll break a few up. One will take one bus, one will take another. I'll pay for the buses for them.
Yeah. I think, you know what I even think we should
enough
do?
money, let them pay for their own.
We should rate them, we should say, okay, well, this bus in this district, if you live in this district, the bus system is, grade C. You're going to find real trouble. If you live in Hempstead, the bus system is a grade A or whatever you want to give it. But it really depends on the district that you live in, and I think that we really should, do the color coding from the Republican district,
I think that's an excellent.
To be very honest, I'll tell you one that's very tough one. It's Town of Oyster Bay. They couldn't move the stack when they cut that Town of Oyster Bay Fort Washington one.
Yep. They won't cut the 80 out, I
No.
found out today. Because one of the politicians' families lives on the 80.
Well, actually,
They
the
won't cut
70...
that
know who it is?
Yeah.
No, I'll find out. I don't know if I can, but one of the,
73 probably won't either, because we have Alphonse D'Amato's sister is on the corner.
Don't tell me where she lives.
Not on the corner. Next house from the corner. We also have the other Kate, Congresswoman, the one with the music.
Oh, I know where Kate Murray lives.
No, I'm not talking about the other Kate. I'm talking about the other Kate, the Congresswoman that was, her husband was killed.
Oh, she's a nice lady.
That's what I mean. Her son actually lives on Strawberry.
Okay.
You ever see that big, heavy-set guy, very quiet, blue suit?
I've seen his pictures because my son used to clean her office when he worked for
And
Stop and Shop and stuff.
that might be another route. We're talking about politics now, and politics is unfair, really.
Yeah, but I don't want to know.
So
where
how do you,
I don't wanna
what would you
done.
suggest how we proceed?
Well, again, I think the next action should be, well, first, we want to continue to gather testimonies of bus riders, and we want to continue...
Advertise.
Yeah, we want to continue doing that.
You okay?
Oh, okay, great. This is a testimony. Great. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So on May 5th, after I took the nice bus to Freeport line, I'm, speaking as if I'm speaking.
Freeport bus station.
The Freeport bus station, I took the 2:30 p.m. N19 to Babylon. The new driver wasn't helpful, and he asked him where he could catch the N73, N74 by pointing to the N73, N74 schedule, and he thought I wanted the schedule. He couldn't understand me, so I asked him if he goes to Wantagh, and he pointed to the announcement. But Wantagh Avenue never showed up, so I had to ask a fellow passenger, and she told me I was in Massapequa Park. So I got off at Sunrise Mall at Pine Point and waited until 2:45, or waited for the 2:45 N19 at Freeport, which was an old driver, and he told me the Wantagh Avenue bus stop was Jackson Avenue. 1673 Hicksville had another old driver assisting a new driver. Even with the old driver assisting the new driver made a wrong turn at Periwinkle Road and Cornflower Road, and he was able to come back to Cornflower Road.
But
Thank you. Yeah, I think that we're seeing that problem a lot. I mean, I'm sure you guys are seeing that problem a lot, where some of the newer drivers are inexperienced and don't know what they're doing. That's what Pat said. It was funny because I talked to Pat and I was like, Pat, are you guys struggling now with service cuts? Are you guys seeing any of your drivers getting fired? And she's like, oh yeah, some of them, but they're the new ones, so I don't care.
The newbies. We got, again, dispatch, I'm friendly with all of them since I started doing a lot of stuff, and they'll come over to me, and one of the dispatchers said that they got a letter, a complaint, that a new driver, she didn't know where she was going, she wasn't driving properly, was afraid to pull from the curb, didn't know how to open or close the back doors. So, and at the bottom of it, it says, what kind of drivers are you sending us? How can you train a driver on a 40-foot bus in a parking lot? Have you ever seen the MTA?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
Well, the east side, they had it all blocked off, and they've got these 40-foot buses riding around. How are you teaching them how to move these buses in small areas? And you've got 3 of them in there. We're all hysterical. What are you teaching these people?
well, at one time, they
It's like a blind teaching.
At one time, they used to be taught over in the Nassau Coliseum.
Yes, but they didn't want to pay the money.
They don't want to pay the money now.
Wow.
Either that or they weren't allowed because of whatever. I don't know.
I'd love to stay in chit chat with you guys.
Yeah.
Can you
Well-
email me all that's happening?
Yeah, definitely. And we
I
have...
kind of want to give it to the guys.
Before you go though,
sorry.
can you let us know what date would work for you for our next meeting? We're probably looking at...
Tuesday. Tuesday is always a good day. And
How is Tuesday, June 5th for everyone?
Nope.
6 o'clock.
It's my graduation.
what about next week? The
How
second
does
week?
Wednesday work?
Wednesday's good.
I would-
Yes, it was at 12. Good.
Wednesday. I would have to take off, but I believe I can make it work.
Are you sure you want to do that?
All right. Well, maybe the second Tuesday of June. I can pencil
I mean,
in.
you can have a meeting without me.
Well,
It's just one
why don't we
person.
do the meeting, I'll touch
Yeah.
base with Anita before the meeting, and we'll
June
do the
5th.
meeting anyway on Tuesday. Does that work for you?
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay.
I'll take off that day. It's
No,
not.
you don't have to take off. It's Tuesday, June 5th. You're off already.
Oh, wait.
Tuesday, June 5th.
Okay, sure.
Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay?
Wait, we have more.
Okay.
Um,
You have up on Tuesday, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Only because I requested. It's okay. I can
Okay.
make it work.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
where do you work, Hicksville?
Actually, East Meadow.
I know the grocery manager. I hired him 20 years ago.
Well, they replaced, a new person there is a guy named Mark, I forget his last name.
Yep, I know. He's a young guy, or younger than me.
Anyway, it was nice talking with you guys again,
Yeah,
thank
good
you.
to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Richard.
I'll email you if I get any more complaints,
Okay.
if I have any more complaints.
Please do.
I mean, I have something to say before I go. One of the curious things about the N-73, finish the story.
You have to forgive the N-73 by the water tower because people do not understand they're not supposed to park in certain areas. And the bus driver can no longer make a left and a right, they have to go straight. The old lady that used to complain about it died last year. She complained she used to chase the bus down. You know her? Yes, you know her. There was another one too, a very, very tragic thing. One over in Oceanside, there was a woman over, used to be at the one corner. She used to yell at everybody. You know, they used to go to that. What had happened with her was she lost her son on that corner. 2 years later on, her husband was killed in the car accident, same corner.
Wow.
And she lived 2 houses off that. So she used to always yell at people.
So we'll check in with everybody. We'll send a reminder about the next meeting, and now that you're on our list, we'll call you to remind you. And we'll also check in about the,
I
If
came
you
yesterday, I didn't
email-
expect the time I was
if you
supposed to come in.
email
Oh, I'm sorry.
information,
No, it's my
I
fault.
will post it.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.